Welcome back to another episode of Talkin to.
And today what we're talking about is it a limit to how much advice you can give?
Is there a limit to how much advice you can give?
Yes.
So is this a personal or just a general question?
This is just a question like, can you give too much advice at all?
In
like,
general?
Is there a limit? Yeah.
I don't think there's a limit to how much advice you can give.
Okay.
I think there's a limit to how much I want to listen.
Okay.
But I don't think that there's a limit, and I think that it depends on who the advice is coming from.
So when you say who, are you talking about like you have to have some type of relationship or some type of understanding with these people already or something? Or like, what do you mean by who is giving it?
No, I don't think you have to know somebody or have a personal relationship with them. I think that I don't think you need to know a person to get advice from them.
Yeah, but what do you mean then? So
I'm just saying it depends on who's giving that advice, which means like, are you even a reliable resource for me to even take that advice from?
But wouldn't you have to know them to know if they're a reliable source to take the resource from?
No. I think you can see a person, and it's like me. I feel like if I see somebody and they ain't in their right mind and they try to tell me something, most likely I'm probably going to like fan them off. I'm not going to like sit there and be like, tell me more. Like, no, I'm probably going to fan them off. It just depends on how they approach you, you know?
Okay. So, like, what type of advice is too much advice? Like, how would somebody, or what type of person can't give you advice, actually?
Well, first of all, what do you think is too much?
Yeah. I think that it's a limit to how much advice I want to take in. Yeah. Like, how much advice do I want to take from this person? Because if you're giving me your personal preference and trying to put it on me, and then I don't really want your advice.
Yeah, see? So it goes with the person that's giving advice and how much you want to actually listen to the advice.
Right.
But is there really a limit to how much advice someone can tell you? Like, you know, if we're talking about a specific person, and then we can go into the whole preference thing, like, oh, this person is telling us some good stuff, but now they venturing off and just telling us their preference of what they think because it's personal. But if it's a general question, like, you know, just to get advice from anybody, you know.
I think it could become overwhelming after a while.
From a person or?
Yeah, in general. If the same person is giving me advice, like they're telling me something and then I do that and they critique it again and give me more advice and then I do that, it can get overwhelming.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about just one person, though, like, did I not understand? Are you talking about? I thought you were just speaking in general. Like, if you give me advice and then my mom give me advice and my dad give me advice, like, is that too much advice?
Oh, like that?
Yeah, I
you're
thought
talking
that's
about
what
just
you're
the
talking
multiple
about.
people.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't talking about that, but that's a good conversation too. I was talking more about like from like a person. If a person is giving you advice, one person, but collectively, that could be overwhelming too.
Depends.
Yeah.
I think it depends on how it's being delivered and how you're receiving it. That's how I feel, you know. So which one are we talking about today? Are we talking about the collective or are we talking about the personal?
I'm talking about both.
Okay, so we're going to talk about both?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like if the same person was giving me advice, depending on if that person was a reliable, trustworthy, you know, individual, and then it would, you know, I mean, sometimes, you know, just because I don't want to hear that advice doesn't necessarily mean that the advice that they're giving me is actually, you know, not good. I just may not want to listen to it at that time. So I wouldn't say that it will be a limit to them telling me advice. I don't think there's a limit. They can talk all they want, you know?
Yeah.
Now, maybe my receiving and how I hear and how much I want to listen to is limited. You know, I would look at it like that, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to stop them from talking.
Well, you're just not the type to do that, to stop
Yeah.
somebody from talking. But most people don't want to hear stuff they don't want to hear. So they don't want you to keep going on when they're not even interested in the first place, you know, what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So what do you think?
I think it's for sure a limit to how much advice I can take personally.
So it's all personal then, because we're saying that, like, it's really no limit to how much advice you can be given, but there is a limit to how much advice you personally want to receive.
Yeah.
Like, I
For
think,
sure.
yeah. So that's, I feel the same way, because you don't have to listen. And, if they talk, it don't mean you have to listen.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so I think that it could be overwhelming depending on if you want to, another factor is if you have a high regard for this person too.
Well, you can listen to somebody or hear them out, but not be really interested in what they're saying. You just have a high regard, so you're just hearing them out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's pretty decent.
depends. It's a possibility. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that when somebody's giving advice or whatever, and then they're trying to help you make a change. You know what I mean? They're trying to help you further or whatever, or they're trying to give you some type of understanding that they feel like they understand. And I feel that depending on if they understand where you're trying to go with it, it could be overwhelming for them to keep on trying to give you these understandings that you're not even trying to work towards,
Yeah, well, it is subjective for sure.
Right.
It's definitely up to you whether or not you want to listen, or you may not even feel like at this moment you need that advice in that area.
Mm.
And it's up to you whether you want to choose to listen to it now or later, and if it applies to you. I think that's a key thing too. If the advice don't apply,
Mm-hmm.
If they're giving you advice on something that don't apply to you, it's like you're not going to really. I don't think you're going to hear them out, but I don't think it's going to actually take an effect on you.
It's not going to resonate.
No. Like it's how, like if you're telling me something, it's like a kid. You tell a child all these things like, oh, when you get older, you gonna see,
Right.
and it's not resonating with them. They don't understand until they actually the time when they understand.
Right.
So I think that's how advice is too. Like, if you give somebody advice and then it may be able, be something that they can take in at that moment, but then it may not catch up to them for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, it just seems like advice is just to the beholder, depending on, like, if they're telling you something you want to hear, or telling you something that you need to hear or you feel like it's helpful towards you.
Well, advice could be opinionated too.
I think it mostly is.
Yeah, like, but some of it is not only an opinion, it's sometimes it comes from experience,
Mm-hmm.
Someone could tell you advice based off of their personal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it may not be the same experience for everyone in that way, but it can have some similarities to it.
But it's an experience that they had and how they went about it and what they would do differently or what they learned from it. It's still opinion.
It is, but it's a change of, it's something that happened though, to even give them that ability to have that advice to give someone else. It happened to them, so then they felt like, oh, I want to help somebody else. Advice is all about trying to help someone. Now, everyone may not have that same attitude, the proper attitude,
right,
behind giving advice. It could be malicious. It could be all types of situations behind why you would give someone advice. But the genuine, I care about you advice, I think that is something that is valuable to people to share.
I don't know. You would have to care about what they're saying. Like, really.
I don't know.
Yeah, if you don't really care about what they're saying, you could care less about their advice. If you don't, you have to have some type of care for it, I think, for their opinion or their words or their evidence or whatever they're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Like, I get that part, but I'm just saying that, it's no limit though. Like, it's just a limit to how you view it. There's no limit to actually how much advice the person can give.
Yeah, how much you can take.
Yeah, how much you can take and willing to listen to. There is a limit. Personal.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
So, I'm personally, when people tell me advice, I be over here, because I be dissecting stuff. So if someone tells me advice, I want to ask questions, Because I just don't want to hear the cliche, I guess, advice, you know.
So you ask questions, but what, like you ask questions to the person giving you advice?
Yes.
Why? Like what? Like how that work?
Because I want to know where the advice is coming from. Like, I don't want you just giving me this throw in the air.
So you're just questioning them because you're just curious upon like where they're getting this information from.
No, I don't need to know.
Where's your resources? Like, where did you get your resources?
No, I don't need to know where they got the resources from. Like, they got the resources probably from their own emotional feelings of what they want to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like I need to know what made you feel like this advice you wanted to tell me. Like, what was the point of you telling me this advice? Like, that's what I want to know.
I see.
You know, not in a rude way, but I just like, how does this relate to me? You know, type thing. Like, and I just want to know. Like, you know, and most people would say, well, I was staring at you, I was looking at you, you know, you did something that made me feel like, you know, you reminded me of something. Like, they have a reason sometimes why they want to probably give you advice. So I would just be curious to be like, why would you tell me that?
Yeah, it could be personal reasons though. Like it could be for no benefit of me, you know?
Yeah, but I still want to know why you felt the need to tell me that. Like, I personally would like to know why you want to give me that advice.
I think like people care more for why is this beneficial to me than why they want to tell me. You're thinking about it from their point of view. I think people usually think about it from their own point of view.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I give somebody advice, me personally, I want to, when I'm telling somebody, the first thing I go like, do they really want to hear it? Probably not. But do I feel like they need to hear it? Probably. Depends on who the person is. Like, even if a person asks me for my advice, I'm not going in because I'm like, yes, I couldn't wait for you to ask me for my advice so I could tell you. Like, I'm not like that. Like, I'm more so like, I'm really like, like, this person is asking for my advice, but obviously I'm not just going to take over and just, you know, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to give you advice that I feel is practical and genuine as much as possible that can suit your you know, needs. You can think about it. You don't have to move for it. You don't have to jump to it. You don't have to do nothing with it. But if you ask me, you know, I'm going to tell you my advice, but I'm not going to tell you from my experience. I'm going to tell you from a practical, more logical place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody moved that way though.
I don't know neither, but you know, that's just how I move. Like, I'm not going to tell you from a personal unless you simply sit here and say personally. You have to be, you know, really specific, because if you're asking me for advice on a situation or something, I'm going to probably answer in a more logical, practical way. And I know people probably want emotional, you know, which is like, it's emotional too, but you know, everyone's situation is just different. They just don't align the same way.
I think people want what's beneficial to them. Why are you telling me this? How is this going to help me? Not like people don't care like about like why. Yeah, what do that matter? Like you're talking to me about something that could potentially help me. So why is this beneficial to me in the first place? Why are you telling me this? Like you're thinking about it.
I can say the same thing. I say, why are you asking me?
Yeah,
like,
you're thinking about this from the whole understanding things. Advice don't even only come from you asking for advice. Advice, people come and try to give advice on their own. Like you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so it's not only from people like, hey, can you give me some advice on this? You know, how is this? It's sometimes people come back, oh, if you try this might work a little better. They do it by themselves.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, but it's fine though. Like they could, like, you know, you can't stop somebody from doing what they want to do. Like you can't.
No, but you can ignore it. You're like you don't have to be rude, but you can ignore it completely. As in, like, you know, thank you for letting me know that. Okay, I'm gonna do it still the way that I wanted to.
I think that goes by human nature, to be honest. Like, I think like what I'm telling you is literally my, you know, the truth of like, okay, this can happen. Like I can be rude or I can have that type of attitude too. Like, you know, I think that comes naturally if you really ask. Like, okay, I didn't ask you. Like, you know, that's like natural to respond in a way like that. I think so. I'm just thinking about the above, like after that response, like, you know, when you're really giving advice or taking advice from somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like
you're going above that part, so
Yeah.
it's like you want to hear this. That's what you're
it's
saying.
not technically want to hear, but it's like it's easy for me to sit here and say thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah, I'm not
move
saying
on.
that.
Like
I'm just saying that, you know, sometimes people give advice because they feel like they're helping.
yeah,
Like, you know.
and that's okay. Like, you know, and I think in human nature, you know, some you have takers and you have helpers.
I don't know.
Or takers and givers, but whichever one, you know, you have them. So when you come across a taker and then you deal with them, you come across givers and you know, you open or you have a sense of openness. Just depends on who the individual is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I don't know. Why are you staring at me like that?
I'm listening.
Like, I'm just trying to tell you, like you don't, like, personally, like, if I don't feel like I need, well, actually, there's two types of advices.
Okay.
So you have direct advice and you have indirect advice.
Okay.
So we take in, whether or not we know it or not, we probably do take in a lot of indirect advice. We do.
How so?
Like when we're on social media, when we see little things that's probably talking, we read something, you know, it make us go, like, you know, or, oh, I never tried that. Oh, maybe this, you know, a cooking book, like whatever, any recipe. And it's like they just gave us advice on how to make this spaghetti indirectly, though. You know, that was advice.
Yeah, that's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
it was like I wouldn't probably make this spaghetti that way. So
That's true.
So it's like indirect advice, and it's still up to us whether or not we want to listen or we don't.
That's true. In that case, social media is based off of stuff like that. You know,
It really
just
is.
talking about random things or whatever like that, and then, you know, somebody could take what they will from it. You know, so
Like literally
indirectly.
indirectly.
Like, we're not talking to just that one person specifically. We're talking in general, and then people can take from that what they will.
Exactly.
All right, just ignore it.
Or just ignore it.
Yeah,
It's,
that makes sense.
You know, don't hurt nobody.
Okay, so pretty much, advice is to the beholder, as in, like, you know, how much you can receive, but it's no cap to how much people can give. Obviously, you can give as much advice as you want to, but and then how much a person wants to hear and take in is a limit of. It's a limit for that person, for that individual person.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, that sounds like about right.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that, you know, you can't put a cap on who wants to talk, but you can put a cap on your own personal ears of what you want to hear.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yeah.
or what you want to take heed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm listening.
Oh, you just staring. He just over here staring at me.
I'm listening.
Okay. Well, yeah. So that's my take on it. And that's your take on it.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Maybe it's, I don't know. I think people will be able to understand that. Like,
Yeah, it makes sense.
you know?
It makes sense.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
All right.
So
Well, that's our
what we
take.
got.
All right. Well, if you like these type of videos and these type of podcasts, let us know in the comment box below. Like, comment, subscribe. If you like hearing our voices on them podcasts, keep listening because we're going to make more. But until next time, we are out. Deuces.